Hi and welcome back to Guessagaingaming, and we're playing Phoenix Point, which is a turn-based strategy game, similar kind of from XCOM. One of the developers from the original XCOM developed this, so it's got quite a bit in common, but it's equally completely different, except for some of the actual turn-based action fighting, which is these similarities with XCOM, you can see them, but apart from that it's actually very different. I would say it's a lot more complicated. That's not good or bad, it just is. And the one thing I'll say about this game is that unlike most games that I've played, especially turn-based games, XCOM, Phantom Doctrine, this game gets harder. XCOM, which is the obvious one to compare it with, the more you go into the game, the more you get level up weapons, the more your armor levels up, the more you get extra perks and things you can add on to your soldiers and add on to your weapons. It kind of balances out, and I would say it gets ahead of what the enemy do, because the enemy get to a point where they don't really get more and more stuff. The soldiers get upgraded weapons, of course, but the higher ranking enemies, the sector pods and those kind of things, sectoids, they don't really upgrade much. So the Andromedans, those things, they don't upgrade. So you get to a point when you've been playing for a while where your upgrades, and you've got the stealth suits, and you can go through walls, and you've got the spider suit where you can jump up onto things. You're further into the game, it becomes easier. I would say it becomes considerably easier actually than it is early on. Phantom Doctrine, which I played on this channel, so I'll talk about that one as well. That's similar. Early on it's a bit difficult because you haven't even got a silencer, and that's one of the things you really want early. You want a silencer. But later on, when you've got silencers and different guns and more agents and different weapons and grenades and all these things, it becomes easier. It's not quite as much easier as I'd say XCOM gets, but it gets easier. This game is absolutely the opposite. I've played this quite a few times, and I'd say the second setting, which is veteran, it's kind of not the first easy one, but it's not the desperately hard one. I'd hate to play him just on desperately hard. I would say that you never upgrade enough to combat how the enemies upgrade. Whatever you do, the enemies get stronger and stronger and bigger, and there are some really big things that come later that are almost impossible to fight. And you never get to a point where you're over armoured or it's just a breeze. You can kind of do a Phantom Doctrine and walk in and shoot everybody, or do an XCOM and you can stealth through a wall and have people that are concealed at the beginning of missions and all these kind of things. You never have that. And the enemy upgrades and the way they develop, it outweighs, as far as I've played, outweighs your development considerably. So unlike all the other games that I've played on this channel, I'm starting it from absolutely the beginning because I have got games in for many hours in this, but they will be difficult. I think there's 4 DLCs for this game, and I've got them all, and they're all activated, but we won't get to those because they come in to play a bit later. But yeah, so it's not a game to take lightly. It's definitely a game to always be trying to upgrade because you will need to. But like I said, later on it gets very difficult because the enemies upgrade much quicker, or they seem to get much stronger, and there's a limit to how strong you can get. That's how I found it anyway. The premise of this, if you don't know already, is that the world's been infected by a virus called the Pandora virus. It mutated people and crabs and other things, and I'm not sure whether we're sure yet, but whether it's an alien thing or whether it's something that's gone wrong with the world. But now there's lots of alien crab people that came from the sea. They walked into the sea and came out as kind of crab, half human, half alien, half crab things. And the premise is very interesting. In the style of XCOM, you've got the base and the overview, but there's much more of a world in this. There's much more. You can see you've got the whole globe, and there's much more places to go. At the bottom you can see you've got the different normal things you'll be used to on turn-based games or possibly any games. You've got the overview, which is the geoscape. You've got bases. You start with one, which you can build new bits and pieces on. Some of them mean you can have more soldiers, some of them mean you can have medical facilities or a prison to keep enemies, but that comes later. There are your soldiers. They're, I would say, fine. They look fine. They're not as interestingly upgradable as they are in, say, Phantom Doctrine, and they're not as good models as they are in, say, Necromunda Under Hive or maybe XCOM 2, but they're fine. They're fine for what they do, but they're not flashy. Let's just say that. Then you've got your aircraft, which you use similar to XCOM to go to the places you need to go. You can have more than one. You can have quite a few bases in this, and you can have more than a few of these, and there's quite a few different models. So again, that's different from things like XCOM, where you've got one and you just go from your base. You can have different teams in different bases. Like I said, it's much more complex than XCOM in general. Research, there's the research. Obviously I've not done anything yet. You can research general things. There's the things you can research, which are, these are the aliens, the Pandorans, and as you can see, there's a lot of them, and there's more to come that you find, and there are a lot, and yeah, so you can research them. You'll get various buffs and bonuses if you do. That's where you manufacture the things you want to use with your troops, and there's a lot of different guns, there's a lot of different things. Almost to the point that there's kind of sometimes a little bit too many. It's more like Phantom Doctrine, I'd say, where there's a lot of different guns, and not like XCOM, where you've got kind of, you upgrade everybody's gun, and there's like certain amounts of just one gun, and you upgrade everybody's shotgun, and all the Rangers have one shotgun. It's not like that. It's much more like Phantom Doctrine. There's lots of different guns. Necromancer, the same, lots of different guns. But there are a lot of different things in this. You also need ammo for each individual gun. It's not better or worse. It's just more involved, I would say. So you need to think about what you are giving each soldier. And there are ways you can set it to automatically fill ammunition that's run out when you come back from missions, so you don't have to keep going in and managing everything, but it's much more involved than XCOM 2, for example. You've got armour and things as well. There's diplomacy, but we haven't met anybody yet to have a diplomatic relation with. There are 3 other factions in this. There's explanations and things, so that's that. And there's the geoscape again. So the top bar, you can see there's different materials, there's energy and food, things you need to make equipment, supply and make new troops as well. Come to that. It's not like XCOM, where there's endless amounts of troops. Once you've got facilities to add more troops, which is a more bigger kind of barracks in your base, you can add more troops and you can build more. You can have more bases. These bases you have to activate. You don't build them, you find them and activate them. But it's not like XCOM, where you've got limitless new recruits. This usually every so often, I think it's usually every 3 or so days, you can sometimes get 2 or 3, and they're already set of the attributes they have and what skills they have, the class they are, and you can pick if you want them or not, but there's not the same amount. So it's much more important not to be getting your experienced troops killed in this, because they're hard to get, they're hard to level up, and they're not easy to get more. In fact, you can actually run out of people in this, because if you get killed early on, you haven't got the facility, which is something you need to research to upgrade out to get more troops, you might run out straight away. It's possible. So anyway, that's that. So what it wants you to do now, we'll just play it a little bit, and these little question marks, you can see them, and it's what it says, it's an unexplored site. You fly your little ship there and you can explore, and it'll explore, and that's a scavenging site, which is okay. We'll do that because it's mission. We haven't got anybody else to send, we haven't got anything else to equip anybody. So we could do that. I think we'll do that later actually, because we're just going to go and look at a few of these first. So once you've been and seen where something is, it's not like again other games where you have to do it then. You can come back and do it later if you want. So there's another site, we'll see what's there. Okay, so again, there's another, the Disciples of Anu. They're one of the 3 factions in this game. They're all a bit different. The Disciples of Anu kind of worship the Pandora virus, kind of. There's a guy who's like a mercenary, who's got lots of engineering, military kind of troops. And there's a Synedrium, which are a kind of almost like a hippie faction. They've got tech, but they kind of want to make peace with everybody, sort of. That's not quite that simple, but there's 3 different factions and they're all very different, and you can do missions for them. When you do more missions for them, you can end up getting some of their tech. They'll give you bits of tech when you help them more. Later on you can become completely aligned with different factions, and then you get their tech straight away, but then obviously the other factions don't like you, so these consequences for the things you do. And again, we won't start that quite yet. Let's just have a look at some of these little things so you can see what's there. And there's another scavenging site. Scavenging sites are basically, as it says, these crates of supplies, and you go there and you can grab what you can get before the enemy get it. I think we'll just do a little mission there, which is that one, which is to help the Disciples of Anu. Early on, if you help factions, it won't make a lot of difference. You're just kind of getting to know them. So these missions are small. Basically, it'll just kind of show you who they are, get you started. So we haven't got anyone else to deploy. Like I said, we've just got the team we started with. There's nothing we can do to alter them. So we'll go there. At the beginning of this game, this tutorial, which I've not played obviously because it's a bit long and not super long, but I didn't need to, and I can show you the same things in this. A lot of prologue to the story, but again, there's no point in showing you all of that. I've told you the basics, and it's not necessary to know everything. You'll find out while playing, but it is a learning curve. It's not like if I played XCOM after playing this, or Phantom Doctrine or Necromunda, they would become apparent pretty soon. Even things like Hard West, the premise is the same. Some of them are slightly more difficult, they have slightly different things, but the premise is kind of basic and the same. This is much more in depth, much more complicated. There's much more to do because you've got more teams, because you've got limited resources, limited recruits, and the enemy, like I said, they upgrade very quickly. There's many different types, unbelievable amount of types of enemies, and some of them are very, very hard to kill. So how this works, and I'll just give you an overview of the this part's, in this sense, it's similar to other turn-based. You've got the blue area where you move, and that's where you can still take your action point. And if you go past that, in the yellow zone, that's a movement area, but you can't then use an action point. So we're looking for small worm things that infested this, well, it looks like a junkyard, but it's not, but we'll call it a junkyard. So we might as well go to there. And you have the normal things, that's snipers, and you've got kind of range of things, and heavy units, and there are stealth units, but we don't have them. You have to get them from another faction later. and there were some very interesting soldiers and soldier types in the other factions, very interesting ones. Some of the disciples of Anu ones, they use psych and poisons, and the Synedrian ones, they use tech, and the other guy, the guy with the mercenary army, they use lots of engineered kind of things, robotics and things like that. So they're all very interesting, and they can be very useful. And again, it will depend on your style of play, really, which ones you want, because as with all games, whether they're turn-based or not, what kind of soldiers you want, whether you want snipers or stealth units or tank kind of heavy artillery. There's also berserker guys in the Disciples of Anu that just smash everything. So there's a whole lot of things. These people in the one of them have got suits they can use to fly. So there's a real amount of different possibilities in this game. Not too many, but there's a lot. So you could probably been watching on screen. I've not been going through every single thing that's happening, but you've probably been watching these different sorts of cover, which again, I'm not going into all that because it's obvious. You'll know if you played any turn-based game, and I would recommend you do not play this as your first turn-based game. If you are playing this as your first turn-based game, don't, because it's going to be very hard. But if you've played anything else, you'll know about cover and half cover and all these things. So there we've got a shot on someone. It's a worm, and there you can see it, and it will tell us that you can shoot it. It will tell us that we can probably kill it. Shoot it, and we've killed it. There you go. The little red circle with the point on it, that's where another enemy is that we can't see. This game, again, another thing that's very unique to this game, there probably are other games, but I've never come across one in turn-based anyway, is that when you shoot at different enemies, you can shoot different parts of their body. That won't be relevant with these worm things because they're just worm things, so they don't have really different parts of their bodies. Apologies to worm things if you do, but they're just like a sluggy thing, so they don't have arms and legs and heads. But I'll play a mission later, not today, but in another video, where I'll show you can actually shoot people's arms and heads, and it's actually quite good. I think it's like all these games. It's like every game that I've played on this channel so far, the turn-based ones, I'm not counting Watch Dogs, they all have things about them that are very good and things about them that are like, eh. So I like all of them. I've played this a lot. It's not as easy to just go back to this game as it is to something like XCOM, where you can just kind of go back in and like start again. It's easy to just start a new mission. Once you've done one run through, you've kind of not done them all, because they're all different things happen, but you've sort of done them all. They all pan out similarly. It's the same kind of story. This isn't like that, and you don't just start again and like it's like you have to really be involved to do it. So we can put him there, or her there, sorry, because her name's Caitlin. So we haven't got the points to Overwatch, so I've been paying less attention to what I should be doing. So there we can Overwatch with that. It'll tell you what Overwatch is. Again, if you've ever played a turn-based game, you'll know what Overwatch is, and more Overwatch there just for things. So some of it's similar to other games, some of it's not. You're in your turn just like other games. So you can see the worm thing. They poison you, they explode and poison you, which isn't good. In this mission, which is almost like a tutorial, these little missions that you get at the beginning, they're just kind of to show you. But these worm things, trust me, later on, there's a very big thing, I don't know what it's called, I can't remember. It shoots out worm things, and not only do you have to kill the worm things, you have to kill the big thing that shoots them out, which is not easy, and it shoots them from a great distance, and then they'll creep around and they'll do that to you. You just did it on cue. There you go. It'll do that to you, and it'll poison you. And you've got worm things that poison you. These worm things that create fire damage. I think there's another one as well. I can't remember what it does. So it can all be a bit hard. So let's see if we can shoot anybody, but we can't. There's a worm thing up there, and it will show you when you go there. You can shoot it. So we shot the side of the building. That's not really helpful. He is poisoned. Some of the people have, just to show you, they have 2 guns. So that's a sniper, but he's also got a handgun. Again, like with everything in different games, it can take a while to get used to all the different bits and pieces. There's much more things you can change up and do, and it's much less obvious than XCOM, I find. That's not, again, it's not bad. Once you're used to it, it becomes a habit, but it's not like XCOM where it's like simple.
Providing overwatch.
Okay, so we want to kill that worm thing because it's gonna. We're not doing. Okay, got it.
See you in the next life.
That's another worm thing down. And then it's got the normal sort of basic machine gun thing. You can upgrade people quite a lot as well. There's some really good upgrades the more experience you get. I think we got that one. Yeah, okay, that's good. Might as well put them back to there so they don't get wormed on. I'm not sure if that's a phrase. Put her to there. I can probably shoot that one. And we missed. We haven't got another shot. And we haven't got anybody left to shoot, so we'll end our turn. But you can see that the how it looks is it's a mix of kind of a XCOM thing, element space sort of Phantom Doctrine. I would say it's more the arenas that you fight in are bigger. You fight in kind of whole town, so it's sort of bigger than element space, which has that kind of almost like a very arena feel to how it is. But it's equally not as big as Phantom Doctrine, where you've got like really big buildings and areas you're kind of covering. And again, same with XCOM, where you've got, you know, you start out somewhere in the wilderness and you've got to move to the building, and you go through the centre of towns and things like that. It's not quite as big as that. And on the picture you can see where it says Jason Kelly, and there's a picture there with 101 is his armour, that's the blue, 30 and below that, that's how much he's poisoned, and the little picture of his body, the bit where it's orange on his leg and his chest, that's where he's been injured. If he was really, really badly injured and those parts were unusable, they'd be red. And what can happen is you can end up with disabled arms and legs. You can do that to the enemy as well. But like this is all about body parts, it's not about just the whole body. So you can have someone with a disabled arm, and so again with him being a sniper, the fact he's got a handgun, that can be useful, because then even if he can't shoot with his sniper rifle, he can shoot with his handgun. So it will continue going until you've killed everything, even if you think you've killed them all and you can't find everything, it will let you keep going. Until you have. There's no real problem in this, because I know from this it's only worms, he said to the doctor, so I know there's no danger of being absolutely killed, but you have to be careful, like I said in this, you can get killed really quickly, or with the poison things, you've already seen this, and this is just the very first mission with worms, you can you can end up poisoned and with the loss of limbs, so you can't fight back. And you can have people in missions, very often you have, that have they can't use their arms because they've had both their arms shot, so you can't use your arms and they're literally like useless. So can be hard. What I would say about this is I don't know if there's anything there, but it's more we'll send someone that way because I'm not sure where the other worm. There's obviously something else still here. It is more like the other games I played that aren't element space, because at least early on it's quite fair. If you get killed, if you get your limbs shot off, it's usually because you've either been a bit cavalier in what you were doing, or because you've made a mistake. Later on it becomes slightly more unbalanced, and there's the other worm. I knew there was another one, because otherwise the level would have finished. So later on it gets a bit more unbalanced, but at least at this stage it's not like element space. You're not fighting against ridiculous odds. Come on, guys. You're fighting against, we've got 5 people here and we're fighting against worms. So we've already got 2 people that killed that worm. Let's see, more worms than I thought, as they say. And at this point, I know, because I've played these before, that there's a limited amount of worms and there's nothing else except worms, so I don't need to worry about running into something else. Although worms on their own, they can do damage, you've seen that. Okay. Generally, I would say this mission is usually a little bit quicker, but because I'm taking time and I'm not really concentrating on what I'm doing, it's taking longer than it might do.
How did that miss?
Got it. And that is going to be, that's going to be the mission complete. You don't need to evacuate. Again, that's like all the games, XCOM, you don't necessarily need to. Sometimes you'll need to evacuate people, and that can be difficult, like it is with XCOM, when you've got to find the evacuation zone. You can see it there on the right, just behind the pop-up in the yellow. And sometimes you will need to evacuate people, and that can be tricky, just like with XCOM. But sometimes the missions just finish again, just like with XCOM, where you don't need to do that, and these ones just finish. So, and you can see we've got people leveled up. That's good. No one's killed, but 2 of them, the thing, Caitlin Thayer and Isabel Grob, they're both quite injured, and that's a problem early on because we haven't got extra people. So then it will send us back to our base. So there's a little taste of a mission. That was a simple mission. There was no real danger of being killed, but we did what you probably want to try not to do, which is get a few people poisoned. Ideally you want to get through, again, like with all the missions that start off in all these turn-based games, you want to get through early missions when you haven't got lots of resources and lots of different options and different soldiers or agents. You want to get through them as unscathed as you can, because you haven't got the option to replace people and just swap out your team, whereas later on you'll have more people, hopefully, and you can just swap out people. Even turn-based games, Watch Dogs Legion's the same early on when you've just got the first 3 you get to start with. You don't want any of them to really get badly injured or killed, because they'll struggle. So then this is a message from the disciples of Anu. That's kind of them. We can be rude, or we can just ask about, knowing more. Early on, that doesn't really make a lot of difference. They'll give you some food, which is nice of them, and their opinion of us is a +3. Again, all the early missions, the first starter mission to these different factions, you don't have to worry about it being negative or positive. You just do them to get some resources and to start to get to know them. It's only later when there's options to kind of really support one against the other, or you can actually, there's missions where you can sort of almost side with one against the other, then it becomes much more relevant which ones you help and don't. So there you go, we just want to do a bit of research. So there you can see we've got research now because we've come across some aliens, so we could research the disciples of Anu, for which we get some food as a bonus. We could research the atmosphere, which is important because later on, or during this game from the beginning, the Pandora virus starts spreading and you can see a red cloud going over the map, and where that is, it's much more dangerous to go, and the more that gets covered, the more you're kind of losing. And there are things you can do, there's things you can do to stop that virus spreading, but that's important. And you can also analyse a worm, but at the moment I think we do better looking at the atmospheric analysis, I think. So anyway, that is a kind of basic starter for Phoenix Point. There's a lot more to it. I won't continue this video because it will get very long. So what I'll do is I'll cut this for now. Next time I'll continue from this exact point, because this is a game where you can just save at any point. So I'll continue from this exact point, play on and try and do a mission where you get to shoot people with arms and legs, which is different, and just play on a little bit. You'll find different things, you'll see different things. We've got those, I'll probably do one of those scavengers, but we'll just sort of go on and see how it goes. And like I said early on, this is once you've got the hang of it and you understand what you're doing and you understand all the systems, it's not difficult, but it takes a very sharp curve later on when the enemies upgrade and start being more than worms that poison you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with Phoenix Point in the next video. Take care.